In today's episode, we get to chat with Marvin Hayes from the Baltimore Compost Collective. Marvin is one of the most passionate compost advocates out there, spreading his compost fever. It became apparent that his love and respect for the compost process is only matched by his celebration for empowering the young people of Baltimore through compost. Listen in and catch Compost Fever with Marvin Hayes. Welcome to The Composter, a podcast for compost lovers. I'm your host and fellow composter, Jane Murner. Join me in practical conversation between industry professionals and farmers with a passion for producing quality compost. We're going to dig deep into the science, technology, and art of compost production so that we as composters can help enliven the world's soils. This episode of The Composter is brought to you by Viably. As the master distributor of Comtech products in North America, Viably helps their customers to uncover the most forward-thinking solutions in the waste and recycling industry, including the proven 4-step Comtech compost process of shred, turn, screen, and separate, which produces healthy, contaminant-free compost while optimizing commercial production efficiency. Viably is also the distributor of the Turbo Separator food waste depackaging system and the HARP Renewables biodigester. Both of these revolutionary machines can help composters incorporate food scraps into their compost process, creating a more nutritious end product and the opportunity for an enhanced bottom line. You can learn more about Viably and their portfolio of compost solutions at thinkviably.com. While there, request a complimentary consultative meeting to discover how Viably can help your compost operation deliver what is possible. Green Mountain Technologies has been designing and building innovative composting solutions since 1992. Our client base includes large commercial and municipal composting facilities, small-scale community organizations, farms, and institutions of all types. Our EarthFlow in-vessel composting system and our simple pre-engineered ASP packages are ideal solutions for farms and community composting organizations. We're proud to give back 10% of our profits to nonprofit community and environmental organizations. Learn more at compostingtechnology.com. Enjoy the show. Well, Marvin Hayes, welcome to The Composter. Thanks for being on. Marvin, can you let us know a little bit about yourself, how you got started with the Baltimore Compost Collective, and just what inspires you?
Sure. So before I get started, I just want to make a disclaimer. I am contagious. I'm a long hauler of compost fever. Me and my youth have been spreading compost fever through the variant of education throughout Baltimore City, causing the composting pandemic. I'm the executive director of the Baltimore Compost Collective. We are a youth-led food scrap collection service, and we serve about 15 neighborhoods here in Baltimore City with over 400 participants, and we pick up a 5-gallon bucket, food scraps, and we take it back to community gardens to make soil enhancer for community gardens that are located in food insecure, food apartheid neighborhood. And we use compost as a carrot. We hire youth from Ben Franklin High School. We use compost as a carrot to be able to expose youth to small-scale composting, entrepreneurial training, life skills, career development. So we work with a holistic approach with our youth. And the area where we're located in Curtis Bay is dealing with a lot of environmental injustice issues. So we have 2 incinerators in Curtis Bay, a coal plant that sits across the street from a recreation center, a medical incinerator where John Hopkins gets paid for cancer asthma research, cancer asthma treatment, but are burning their waste right in Curtis Bay, along with chemical companies, kerosene companies, fires, explosions, you name it. So we're training youth to be the next environmental justice leaders so they can stop incineration. And we provide alternative to incineration, which is composting. So 85% of Baltimore City municipal waste can be composted, recycled, or reused. So we're educating the residents of Baltimore Baltimore City, how we can turn food scraps into a beautiful soil enhancer, which I love to call black gold, and we can starve the incinerator, feed the soil, and feed the community.
So how did you catch your compost fever?
About 8 years ago, I was working at an after-school program, and I met a young lady by the name of Destiny Wolford and a young man named Charles and a young man named Greg Sartell. And they were telling me about this incinerator that they were proposing to build in Curtis Bay. And this was a young person. She was 16 at the time, and she stopped this incinerator from being built. And I was able, through the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, attend a composting workshop in Atlanta, where I saw the social justice panel with Mike Martinez, Sandy from BK Rock, Xavier from Soulful City, and brother from Tampa, Florida, who did a composting business. And they inspired me listening to that panel. And I was wondering, what can I do when I go back to Baltimore? And doing this training, I learned that composting is the alternative to incineration. So me and my youth, we were profiled a lot. We were in communities where people, where we didn't look like the people who we served. And, I always like to turn a negative into a positive. So I taught my youth how to do elevator pitch. So when people are staring at them, we just ask, hey, do you compost? And we begin to go door to door and knock and educate people about where their trash goes, what happens to it when it gets to its final destination, and how we can divert this material from being burnt or buried and create soil enhancer to be able to support community gardens where people live in areas where it takes them an hour to get to a market. They have no access to be able to grow food, and we can take this soil enhancer and provide opportunities for young people. So that's kind of how I got inspired to do this work and to start this incinerator. And from working in this community for the last 9 years, where I have got a relationship with the people who live there. I feel a part of that community because I work there a lot. And just seeing the environmental injustice that's happening there, our goal was to be the voice for the voiceless and be able to shed some light to incineration and landfill usage and provide the alternative of composting, and provide that through youth being the leaders of this movement to bring Baltimore City towards municipal composting pickup, and to educate the residents about why composting is important and why they should separate their recyclables from their waste and their composable materials.
All right, so compost as the great connector of all good. I love it.
So the great connector was I always loved youth, and composting allowed me to be able to, so the same way sometimes your bucket comes to you, when we open up the bucket of the compost, we get that smell.
Yeah.
But once we put it through a process, that organic funk turns into this beautiful black humus that we call black gold. The same way some of my youth have come in, they didn't have a resume, they didn't know how to do a resume, they never done public speaking before, they didn't have soft skills. So we put our youth through the same process, through a process where they become leaders and hopefully become environmental justice leaders to move Baltimore away from incineration.
Between that 8 years ago when you were inspired by all those amazing humans and then to now, I'm sure you've had to figure out a lot of the nuts and bolts of composting in order to make that black gold. So how does it work now? The actual collection and processing, maturing, screening. What's happening? Tell us about the flow of materials, process, what's working, what your challenges are. I want to hear it all.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So like you said, it's been a lot of trial and error, but we stayed consistent. We were operating out of 6-bin system. I don't know if you're aware. We're currently in between facilities right now. We're looking for a facility, but we have a couple of bridge sites that we're working with composting, community composting drop-off sites. So we continue to work with the community. A community composting drop-off site can divert about 700 pounds on a weekly basis. So we've been blessed to work with Hidden Harvest, Plantation Farms, Strength to Love, providing 3-bed systems with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. So what I'm not able to process at community gardens, because we are diverting about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds on a weekly basis, which those systems only allow 800 pounds. So I'm having to drive to the large-scale facility in Upper Marlboro to drop off what I can't process at the community gardens. But great news, Baltimore City received $4 million from the EPA to build our first large-scale to medium-sized transfer station in East Baltimore. And we have another group that is opening up another large-scale composting site. So we're hoping that we will be able to work with them in capacity where I do not have to haul all the way to Upper Marlboro, and we'll be able to keep our compost local and be able to use it for soil enhancing. And the residents of Baltimore City can purchase that for their growing needs at their community gardens, community farms, and all that organic material stays local.
Okay, and how's the separation been of the material coming in? Are residents really respecting that? And
so I do a really good job with education and signage and communication. So the only large amount, my 95% contamination are produce stickers,
yes.
which if you saw my last post on Instagram, those damn produce stickers. So remove the produce stickers from your, when you're going shopping. So we give our residents all kind of tips. So we suggest that you clean your produce off and you remove the stickers before you put your scraps inside of your bucket. So we, because I've been doing this for 9 years, my customers do a great job with contamination. My youth composters, if they see any contamination inside the buckets, we send an email right away educating. At our drop-off sites, we do the same. When people are dropping off their buckets, we inspect those buckets. So then we cut down the rate of contamination. So it's all about education. Compost fever is so important. People laugh so much when I say compost fever, but I spread it through the variant of education. When people know better, they do better. So I follow the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. We soil build the program and we train the trainer, because I don't believe that programs are sustainable if you only depend on one person. So I train a number of people so those programs always go on. So if one person gets burned out or is not able to do it anymore, it's sustainable. The next person just jumps on because we're training the trainer so they can make sure that these sites are sustainable.
Great. And what do you use for carbon sources mixed with those food scraps?
I'm glad you're asking all my questions. I love it. So my favorite carbon, of course, is leaves.
Okay.
Because they get burned here in Baltimore. So I make recommendations for each one of my sites to create a leaf bank so that they can collect those leaves so they have their carbon sources when they're processing. And we do a great job with making sure that everybody has the recipe. So for 1 part nitrogen, we add 2 part carbon, and we do education, home composting workshops with the DPW Growth Center, and I'll be operating the drop-off center at Waverly's Farmers Market. So I'll be doing a number of workshops and education so that people know the correct way and the best practices when they're composting. My second favorite carbon source is from Zeke's Coffee. They give me this amazing coffee shaft. So coffee shaft is the shell of the bean when it's roasted, and it is amazing carbon source. And then wood chips, you need that because your 4 ingredients for compost would be water, air, carbon-rich material, nitrogen-rich material. So you need a bulking agent. So the bulking agents that I recommend are wood chips. But when you're doing wood chips, you want to stay away from pine. Pine is very acidic, so it won't break down as fast. So when you're asking your neighborhood landscaping person, can they drop off some wood chips? Just make sure that it's not pine. If they don't know what type of wood it was, then the best thing is to say no. When in doubt, don't take the material because it will slow down your process if it's a lot of pine. So I would say my favorite carbon would be first leaves, coffee shaft, and wood chips, and of course hay. not straw, because straw has seeds in it. You have to get temperatures of 140 to 160 degrees to kill the germination process. So we do not recommend that you put, that you use hay, that you use straw instead of hay, because hay has seeds.
Plastic is a huge problem in the compost industry. The OSC Pack Pact is a collective action campaign that works to reduce single-use packaging in the natural products industry. We inspire innovators to minimize waste while raising consciousness about the environmental impact of our choices. We empower brands, packaging manufacturers, and consumers to take action. When you take the Pack Pact, you pledge to make progress around circular packaging. You'll also receive a discount code to shop select products from leading natural products brands that you love. Click the link in the show notes to join the Pack Pact. Compost use and selection decisions involve many factors and are not one size fits all. The U.S. Composting Council's Seal of Testing Assurance, STA, program helps you make the best decisions for your application. Learn about the 3 C's of the STA program: clarity, consistency, and confidence. Learn more and enroll at www.compostingcouncil.org/STA. And now, back to the show. We also work with a coffee roaster, and so for people that don't know what that coffee chaff is, it's like the little husk on the outside of the bean. It's light and fluffy, and it smells, it's been roasted, so it has a great smell. It's a great texture. It's cool. It's cool stuff.
Yes, and it makes some amazing compost. So I definitely, and DPW Growth Center, we provide that when residents at Baltimore City, because like I say, it comes from education. Once they complete the home composting workshop, they receive a Green Garden Earth system for free. It's an enclosed system, because in Baltimore City, if we did outsource compost and not enclosed, we would have urban rabbits and hood bunnies running all over. So we recommend an enclosed system where it can be lined with 1/4-inch cloth. And we provide coffee shaft through Z Coffee. We give that to residents as a starter for their carbon resource. And also, the city will deliver leaves to community gardens for their carbon bank, for their leaf banks, for their carbon source. So we definitely provide those opportunities to give residents what they need to make their composting successful.
I like a mix of all those things you're saying.
Yes,
like all the textures and they're all so different.
A little bit of this.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's like a well-rounded soup or something, It's got to have all those good nutrients in there.
So you seem to be a soil snob like me. So I'm very particular on my carbon.
Oh yeah,
what I put into my compost.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this question is much broader. If you had a blank check to spend on the Baltimore Compost Collective, where would you spend it?
Unrestricted funds. Thank you. Please list all my funders. Please listen. If I had unrestricted funds, what would I build it on? It would be used to have a large-scale facility where Baltimore City can provide municipal compost for the residents here. And in turn, we have a composting infrastructure now, and now we can move away from incineration. So that would be my goal, and it would be completely youth-run and operated, so I can pay youth living wage. Give me the squeegee guys, give me all the guys that are causing havoc throughout Baltimore, and let me support them. Young people do well when they have support by responsible adults. So give me those young people. I'm not saying all of them will be composters, but I can help support them with their goals, teach them career development, work with them with job readiness, provide entrepreneurial training so they can turn into a business. Because like my youth composter who has been with me for the last 6 years, he was accepted into MICA and just moved in yesterday. He started his own photography business at the age of 16, where he had his EIN number and LLC, and now he's a student at MICA studying videography and photography. So our young people, if they're supporting him, Mr. Moss has not missed, any days During his commitment with Baltimore Compost Collective, he was a member of the Green Street Academy. He moved to Ben Franklin High School, where he kept a 3.5 GPA. He graduated from there, and now he's furthering his education at Micah. So this is, clearly what we can do when you pour into our youth for Baltimore City and you support them and you, guide them through this process. All of the youth, I've had 8 youth working with me. All of them graduated from school. All of them are working. 2 are operating their own businesses, and 2 are still doing environmental justice work. So we can do this by supporting our youth. Composting can be a curb.
It's funny because for years we've called it the organic eye. I think it's the same thing. Once you have it, it's part of you, right? Like, and
yes.
and you can't unsee. Everything I look at now is potential compost or something we need to change the system, because I just don't even believe in waste anymore. There shouldn't be waste. If there's waste, there's something wrong with that system. And you're teaching these youth that. So they're, no matter what they're going to come out doing, if compost isn't necessarily their passion, they've still got that fever. It's still in there. So I think it's amazing for the future.
Yeah, thank you. I do environmental. I do to spread compost fever and to be able to talk about my work in environmental justice. I do a lot of spoken words, so I use spoken words to be able to educate the residents about the environmental injustice that's going on in our neighborhood. And you have 2 seconds. I have a short one that I would love to share.
Please do. Yeah.
Okay. It's an environmental injustice when it happens to just us. I couldn't get it out. I was choking on the coal dust. Right where our children attempt to play, the time for change is a must. Marvin, what you making a big deal for? What's the fuss? You son of a gun, you almost made me cuss. You'll let our babies die to fatten your pockets until they bust. You'll kill us all for the money that you lust. We don't have to burn or bury our organic material. It's time to compost and adjust. I won't stop until I see the incinerator raised and crumbled in the dust. Let's take a stand for composting to make this world a better place for all of us.
Marvin, I love this. This is so rich. It's good. It's good. And it can reach a whole new, can reach everybody. There's so many different ways to spread this fever.
Yes. So I try to use all my gifts to be able to expose people to the benefits of composting and how we can, like you say, I get in arguments all the time when I'm at conferences because people call it food waste. And I say, well, I don't waste any of it, so I can't call it waste.
Yeah.
That's why you hear me refer to it as organic material, because we don't have to waste things. And, I'm learning as I go along. I'm meeting all these amazing people from all around the world who are showing that we don't have to waste. I just came back from the Zero Waste National Conference in Zanzibar, Africa, and these young people they don't have electric van like we do or electric bicycles, but they had to they're picking food scraps up from their village because they don't have a waste infrastructure, and they're pulling a trailer by human power and committed to do that. And they're called waste pickers when they are food rescuers and environmental justice leaders. So we don't have to waste anything. People are showing us that, and and we have, for consistently, people have been composting. Everybody knows a grandmother who had eggshells in their pots. People from Baltimore who crushed up the crab shells and put that into their gardens and all that stuff to make fish hydrosate. So we know we just have to get back to the best practices.
Yeah.
And the things that we've been doing before. The Caribbean does a great job at the farmers market at Baltimore City. Those food scraps at that compost drop off goes to a hog farm. Those hogs eat that material and they come right back and are sold to the residents of Baltimore City. So it's sustainable. So all we have to get back to those best practices. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
We do not. And the answers are already there in nature. There's no waste in nature. So we just got to tap back into her. She's got it. Let's just Follow her.
Can I please just say this one thing? I'm so glad that you brought that up. I tell people all the time that we make things difficult. You talked about carbon resources. Well, the trees are smarter than us. Every year they drop carbon so they can sequester the carbon back into the soil. But what do we do as people? We want to rake it up. But the trees are smarter than us. They provide their own nutrients so they can grow and continue and feed their roots. So we just need to follow the nature.
For sure.
That's all.
Yeah. So easy. All right. Well, we're like cranking through this. What else do you want our listeners to know? You have so much in there. I want to hear. What do you want to share?
I just want to share that to don't give up. If you're just starting this endeavor of composting in your community, or you're inspired from any of the work from anybody that you listen to on this podcast, just take your time. And it's okay to fail. Because you'll learn. You talked a little bit earlier about Marvin, how did you find things to work? It was through a lot of trial and error, and each failure helped me to become better. So don't be afraid to fail. Get out there and try. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Bring young people to the table. A lot of times we make decisions that impact young people's future, but we don't bring them to the table to have a seat. And we must get out of that. Young people have to be the leaders of this movement. Here in Baltimore, our young people stopped another incinerator from being built. They filed the first legal action against the incinerator to get it shut down. Young people wrote the zero waste plan for Baltimore City. So if we support them and bring them to the table and show them how to be leaders and give them an opportunity to be leaders, there's no limit in what they can do. So we must support our young people and make them the leaders for the future of Baltimore City as far as environmental justice is concerned and composting.
All right. So don't give up and support the children. I can get behind that.
Yes.
I want to add in. So I work on my family's compost operation, and we're 47 years in. And you can imagine over 47 years of composting, lots of errors that have been made and so many good things. And I'm just so thankful that my dad stuck with it and, just would see these as challenges to work through. And then to be able to pass that on to me, the kinks get easier each year to work out, and such a beautiful thing to get to pass that on. So I'm so glad you're sticking with it and all the youth that you're inspiring through that. It's just an incredible gift for the entire world. So I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I have to. My goal is not to be one of those leaders with the founder syndrome. I'm going to pass this torch to the young people. I'm going to build my big man tiny house, get my rescue dog, my composting toilet, my garden, and they can come back and recharge, and I'll send them back to fight the good fight.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on the Composter, Marvin. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. And if anybody doesn't remember anything that I said during this whole podcast, remember, compost, learn so you don't have to burn. Starve the incinerator, feed the soul, feed the community. Thank you. Compost love from the Baltimore Compost Collective. Marvin Hayes.
Yep, I warned you about that compost fever. You are now infected. You're welcome. Check out Marvin's work on Instagram at Baltimore Compost Collective or on the website at baltimorecompostcollective.org. I can be reached at info@earthcarefarm.com. You can also check out my farm, Earthcare Farm, on our YouTube channel or Instagram at earthcarefarm_RI. As always, thank you to No-Till Growers for making this possible, all our sponsors, the awesome music of Soul Shot, Mother Earth, Jah, Buddha, God, or whatever benevolence allows for this fun career, and especially you, our compost-loving listeners.